Hi, and welcome to Over the Sandwich. I'm Zach Funk.
I'm Joe Kira.
And hey, we're back and we're talking about Venture Brothers yet again, episodes 6 and 7 of the new season. Short version. They're awesome.
Yes. Long version, there's going to be a ton of spoilers here, like a lot of them.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go into that ahead of time.
Yeah, well,
not so much for the St. Cloud episode, but for the other one, like...
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, with all these things, really, if you're watching these and you haven't watched the episodes already, you're just arching yourself at this point.
Yes.
Don't arch yourself. Be a hero, not a Mr. Bungler.
Alright, so, kind of on the thing of heroes, villains, and whatever, I kind of want to start with episode, was it 6? 7?
7 is the Illuminati episode.
Okay.
6 is the St. Cloud episode.
Okay, so we're going to start with the St. Cloud episode, the Bellicose Proxy.
Yes.
I wish I got the reference. I do not.
We'll look it up later.
Yes, or the internet can tell us.
That's right. Tell us, internet.
So, I just love that episode for just like the setup of like the big villain program and getting to see like how it actually works whenever it's like very low level people that hate each other.
Yeah, and also if we go back in the show, we can see St. Cloud only even signed up just to arch Billy.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about being a villain. He just hates Billy Quizboy.
Yeah, because I guess he was one of the kids that Billy beat at one of the...
Yeah, and then there was the whole cheating scandal, and that's why he was going to do it for a penny.
Yes.
All those kind of things. Just eat it, Billy.
Eat the pennies.
Just eat the pennies. Eat the pennies, Quizboy. Eat the pennies.
I won't eat pennies.
And, I love St. Cloud so much because he in a show about failures, he is just the epitome of the, you just sad little man.
Yeah. It's just because, like, this is a guy who has so much money, and, like, what is he doing with all of this money? He's going after, like, someone who wronged him as a child.
Yeah, and he's buying nerdy things, and that's it. Like, he's a bad fanboy. Yeah,
was it in the one episode he uses the I can't think of the puppet for Mr. Rogers as a bath towel.
Is that Henrietta Pussycat? The Henrietta Pussycat from the neighborhood of make-believe?
The same.
Henrietta Pussycat.
Yes, Henrietta Pussycat is
mew, 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 mew. Oh.
That was rough and awful, and I love him as a villain just because he's so incompetent, and like, I thought he was just being weird to freak out Billy, and the fact that no, that's just who he is and how he thinks, because he's probably had no one tell him that he's wrong or being weird, and the closest he would have gotten to that would have been the Monarch, and the Monarch doesn't care.
Oh, goody. I'm being hazed by my big villain. I wear my rubber panties just in case you tickle me. I always make wee-wee with tickles. Are you kidding me?
Monarch does not care about making this guy a better thing. He is doing this for his own benefit.
Yeah, Monarch's there for Monarch, and between these two episodes, really, thinking back to how the show started, and even the first two or three seasons, I love that the show has essentially just become the Monarch and Gary show.
Yeah.
Like, I love those two characters together, and we get much more than we get either of the Venture Brothers now.
Yeah. Well, and just, yeah, because they're just so fun, and that's actually kind of leads into sort of what I want to talk about with the thing of just characters, and it's neat to see just how these characters are developing and progressing, where, like, season 1, 2, 3 Dr. Venture would not have helped Billy Quizboy even if it was just like a point of pride or whatever. It wouldn't have done this, and it's neat to see like how he's progressing and he's actually forming relationships with people, which is not something he has ever done.
Yeah, no, Doc is getting better. He still has a long way to go because he's still Doc.
Yeah.
But he is actually caring. And now part of it too, I think, is he was also willing to help Billy just because he saw, like, Doc was not putting himself in any kind of danger to help Billy. This was a chance for he and Brock to make fun of Billy and shoot him with paintballs. calls.
Yeah.
Like, it was helping, but it wasn't like, you're my really good friend and I'm worried about you, I'm gonna help you.
Exactly. And just, but again, development and kind of progression leads very much into the Illuminati episode.
Yes.
And just to have so much character growth and weirdness in one episode, and then to just have it snatched away.
Yes.
At the end, and that like, oh, this isn't true at all, none of this happened. There are a lot of shows, movies, whatever, that'll do like the dream thing, and it doesn't really work. I can think of like 2 times where it hasn't pissed me off. It would be this one and The Princess Bride. Just most of the time, if there's character growth or progression, and then it was just a dream like that, the audience gets to feel robbed. But like this time, it worked, and it just, because they took it far, and I felt like they almost took it too far. Of just that after that episode, if it had ended differently and not been a dream, I don't know how we would have gone back to the old show.
But the thing is, there is no going back to the old show. Since the end of the first season.
That's true.
There is no going back.
That is true. This is a show about failure, but also about torching all your ideas.
Yeah. Well, and it's so different than a lot of shows that have an episodic nature. I mean, this has gotten more serialized as it's gone on.
Yeah.
But there isn't a everything's back to normal reset ever.
No, because something will happen and then it will change. Like, they'll kill a character and it will matter.
I mean,
I'm gonna shit on The Walking Dead for a minute here. Characters die all the time in that show, and it's mattered a couple of times, and that shouldn't be the case for, like, the show.
Yeah, I mean, I gave up on The Walking Dead a long time ago because I didn't enjoy it. But what I'm saying is, if you look at, there have been so many points in this show where you could say there is no going back from this.
Yeah.
From Phantom Limb.
Yeah.
And his, like, taking over the council for a bit. And
from them killing the Sovereign
Yeah.
and torching the Guild of Calamitous Intent.
Yeah. To destroying the Venture compound. To destroying all the clones, so you know they can no longer clone Hank and Dean.
Yeah, this is
destroying Gargantua.
Yeah.
Like, everything in this show is about not being able to go back.
Now, again, I'm going to take a couple steps back. I don't remember what we were saying, but that was going to lead me into one of the other points I wanted to talk about, which was that I am so delighted every time a character gets brought back or whatever. There is not a character on this show where I would say I do not really enjoy seeing this character.
Yeah.
And that the only downside of seeing one of the characters means that you're probably not going to see another character who could have been in that same spot. Mm-hmm. But that's okay, because all of them are good.
Yeah, like, I completely marked out for seeing Brisby. Even though it was just part of the hallucination thing, just seeing him there. Going around.
Yeah.
He was always a trendsetter, wasn't he?
Oh my god, that's even... just like... There's so many layers upon layers upon layers in this show of just, if you're paying attention, it rewards you so much.
Yeah.
And just even, like, it's really fun to go back and watch these things again to see all of these little things that pop up. Mm-hmm. Like, do you remember the testicular torsion episode?
Yeah.
Where he says, I should have fixed this in the prototype phase. And I remember you saying something, it's like, yeah, because he's a scientist, he would think about it that way in his, like, you know, because of, I don't know, you continue from there, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I don't know what you were thinking.
Oh, that is a problem, yeah.
But perhaps, in the past, I may have meant a point about how Dr. Wrench would look at things more scientifically and thinking, I'll fix this in the prototype stages and maybe, like, look in the womb. Mm-hmm. Genetic engineering, things like that, not a clone. I'm guessing that's what Joe means.
That is what I meant.
This is a special part of our friendship, folks, where Joe has an idea, forgets I can't read his mind, and I have to guess, and I'm usually correct.
Yes.
Because I actually can read his mind. Just don't tell him that I can. Very dirty things.
So,
Speaking of very dirty things.
Yes.
All the orgy stuff. Now, this is something I had mentioned to you before we got to here. One thing I'm really curious about that I learned from buying one of the seasons of Metalocalypse on DVD is that because it's a cartoon, I just naturally assume, like, when they're going to show cartoon tits, they're not going to bother to take the time to draw them and then blur them over. They're just going to blur them to start. Bought a season of Metalocalypse on DVD. Hey, guess what? Breasts and everything.
Yeah, there is no censorship or whatever. One point where I'd actually say the censorship was better, I'm not going to bring up any footage of this that is uncensored, don't worry.
Probably doesn't exist yet anyway.
Well, no, of a different scene. The scene where Rusty is a kid and his dad comes in and his dick is hanging out. If you watch it on the DVD, his dick's just hanging out. There's not a black bar in front of it.
Okay.
And in the post-animation things, it's really well done because that black bar turns into Killinger. And it's just like, wow, that was some really great animation you did there. And I was just surprised that that was something that they had to do to censor it.
Yeah.
Like, that was so clever on that part. And just...
Yeah, but just there's so many things in that scene where it's like, wow. Like, some of it's, okay, you're blocking the view of this person getting a blowjob because of, like, a tray placement.
Yeah.
And that just kind of said other things. It's just like, I wonder, just... I feel bad for the animators that theoretically take the time to draw these really dirty things.
Mm-hmm. Just to have it not show up.
Yeah, because, like, the live action thing, okay, you have to censor things because it's there. But with the animation, you have to take the time to put it there in the first place. Also, I love the continuation of Dr. Venture's infatuation with Dr. and Mrs. the Monarch.
Well, especially because they're half brothers, obviously, and just like genetic similarities, they would be into the same kind of woman.
There's that, but I mean, like they've established him being Dr. Venture being into her since like season 1 or 2.
Oh yeah, whenever what was it, or whatever that one scene where it's just like, oh crap, we didn't come up with a name, and then I put in the scene where that's there.
And
note to editor Joe.
And she turns it into a bug. All these different things, and it's another great payoff of in Dr. Venture's fantasy world. His ultimate prize is Mrs. the Monarch.
Yeah, and just that was such an interesting turn. And then we actually haven't talked about my favorite part of that episode because I thought the orgy stuff and that was neat. Mm-hmm. But the heist, because I'm a sucker for a heist. Anytime we can get something like that, and man, that was just a fun...
That was just, between the villains they created for that scene, and God bless you, Mark Hamill, for being on shows.
Yeah. And just being fun and silly and willing to do whatever, and just because Presto Chango, like, that was just a neat character, and it's also just so interesting that they create these interesting characters to be one-time throwaway things. And even just like these characters, like I've seen the drill guy in the background of other stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen the girl with the hacker in the background of other stuff. She's never had any voice lines, but it's just neat to see all of these things that like will get seeded in previous episodes. Like I don't know if we mentioned this on the show or it was just something you talked about after the fact. That in the scene forever ago where. Was it Dr. Quinn from the Dr. Quinn episode where you go back to
you can see the blue Morpho in the background.
You see the blue Morpho in the background, and it's just like, wow, that is nuts that they did that. And that was when they thought the show was going to die and not come back, and they hadn't been renewed for another thing.
Yeah. Now, granted, they could have just said, okay, we're going to put this character, let's look back for a background person. We don't know what exactly they did.
But that's the other thing, is that the way that these two write the show, because it's two guys writing it, so they can remember everything that they've done, every little idea, every little thing they put in the background can get brought out and do that. And I know we've said that before, that there's just a tremendous sense of writing continuity.
Yeah. And, thinking about how there's all these little minor characters that exist you could bring in, you still heal in the background. I think there's one person, if they would have added one more person to the heist, it would have worked, well, I don't want to say as planned, because Copycat had his own plan.
Yeah. Copycat was... I love him.
Yeah.
I'm sad he's probably dead, but
Yeah. But I think the original fall team, heist team, if they had one more person with them, they could have pulled it off.
Which one?
Brick Frog.
Yeah, Brick Frog could have done it.
I have two abilities, being a frog and throwing bricks.
But even that, like, that's just such a minor character that you get to see, and it's a delight every time you get to see
It's
him.
Brick Frog.
I don't know when, but from the trailer, I'm really excited that, I don't know his name, but Slasher Bear is probably coming back for an episode. The guy in the bear suit with the knife.
Yeah. And just some of the things the way everything loops together, it's just, I feel bad because I feel like I'm repeating myself on each episode by just saying this is an amazing show
and you should watch it. And why aren't you watching it instead of us?
We need to find a bad show to watch.
Oh, we will. Don't worry. There is a ton.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Arrow? Because I don't. I did not like it.
I really liked it for a while. And then it just, oh.
All right, but we're not here to talk about Arrow.
Yeah, tune in next time where Zach gets drunk and yells about Arrow.
But, I don't know, the heist...
Oh, listening!
The heist was so much fun. Oh, the part that I wanted to talk about that I keep forgetting, and again, the delight that the characters come back and we get to see, was Dr. Z coming in there for one thing. Just like one little scene to come in and to just chew on the scenery, steal the entire episode, or almost steal the entire episode.
Oh, yeah, and I'm always excited to see him because he is blatantly ripped off of one of the old 60s Johnny Quest villains.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the way he talks, his design, everything. That is just straight an old, like, fucking yellow scare.
Yeah. Villain.
Yeah.
And he's so good and he's so interesting, and I love the fact that it's just like, we do this and it goes through that flashback and then we get milkshakes and it's like, and that didn't happen and you thought it happened.
Yeah.
Because it's totally something that could happen.
Yeah, and anything is believable in this show. I do want to see more of what happens with the Peril partnership.
Oh yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing.
Yeah, because I really hope we get more of that. And
well, if nothing else, we're going to get a bunch of villains that maybe have been background things, but maybe not, and we get to see kind of what happens with that.
Yeah, or just seeing what unregulated villainy looks a bit more like, because of we talked before in the previous episode about like the bureaucracy of that world. Of how the OSI has someone there to babysit a level 1 arching, and the guild has somebody there, and then if things got out of hand, nope, sorry, we gotta shut this down.
Yeah, like even as the lightning gun went off, she goes running off into the thing, just kind of behind the village. It's a neat thing to see it in the background of that particular episode.
It'd be like if you put in like a Major League Baseball pitcher in a Little League game. Someone needs to come in there and say, no. This is not okay. Yeah. This is not fair. We are stopping this game.
Yeah. And just how, like, they treat it like a game.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that, like, in this crazy world of super science that this can function is if it has these weird rules in a game, and even the superheroes are on the payroll and everything. And it's neat to see how wonderful and corrupt this world is. Also, something that I keep forgetting to mention, and I was so excited in the one episode, Think Tank isn't dead.
Oh, I know.
And just, again, for characters and just like little human moments that you get from things, was the guy who's Stars and Garters is going in because his friend and former and college professor is in the hospital and he's playing the guitar, where one is a supervillain, one is a superhero, but they're still friends because they do this and they have this weird world.
That's right. So put on your rubbers because there's going to be a lot of emotion.
Yes. Oh, and just one of my favorite moments from that episode was the thing where 24, the Monarch, hits the button, accidentally sees into the interrogation room. It's like, oh, there's my wife. Hi, honey. And it's just like, that is it was such a human little moment. And just, there's so many of these in that show that just, it builds and builds and is wonderful.
Yeah, they always remember that whether someone's a hero or a villain, they are all human. Yeah. Even characters like Ghost Robot. or
Yeah.
anybody else. They're all just human figures.
Yeah, and they have wants and desires, and they do such a good job of, like, you can kind of tell what a character wants and if they're going to get it or not. And, like, it was such a great moment in the episode forever ago where the new guild is formed and Killinger's like, no, you have wanted to be, or to Phantom Limb. And it's like, no, I turned my back on the guild. And it's like, no, you've just always wanted to be on the council.
Yeah.
And this is where you belong. And it's just like, at that moment, you're like, yeah, no, that is where he belongs.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this other stuff is just, I don't know, it's just, background or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
just
Lost my train of thought.
I love this season. There has not been a weak episode this season.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a weak episode since probably maybe the second season.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and watch. Just the show gets progressively better, and that's why it's okay to wait 10 years between seasons. You know, I'm really excited to know that, like, someday I'll be watching the series finale of this from a retirement home.
Yes. Now, something. Do you know how many episodes the season has?
They don't usually. Some shows announce how many episodes they have, some don't. Now, last season was only like 8 or 9 episodes, but they also. But the Gargantua special took a lot of their budget and counted as, like, part of that season. So my guess is we'll probably get somewhere between 10 and 12.
Okay.
That's my guess, just based on
So we're a
previous
little
seasons.
more than halfway.
Yeah, I would assume.
Now, the reason I ask is something that I've kind of thought was interesting, and this is probably more for an episode later down the line. Each end of a season, or end of an arc, tends to be punctuated with a character death, aside from season 2.
Yeah.
Which was... Phantom Limb died, but not really. He escaped.
Yeah.
In an escape pod or some such nonsense. And that was really just that. But each season kind of ends with a major character death. Do you have any theories about who's going to die?
Okay, assuming someone is going to die.
Yes.
Um...
Or have a death fake out like Molotov.
Yeah, okay, so the first person to come to mind that I would put equal chance, they're my number one pick, but it's a 50-50 real death or fake out death.
Yeah.
Would it be Pete White?
Oh, that would rock that fucking... Yeah, that would affect everyone there.
It's a small enough character to not fundamentally change the show, but at the same time, it's a big enough character to fundamentally change the show.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing they would do, and it would make it really rough, and, like, you wouldn't know what Billy would do without Pete.
Yeah, like I could totally see St. Cloud accidentally killing somebody.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know. That's the first one that just leapt to mind to me. Do you have any guesses?
I did not. That's why I wanted to ask you.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought about it, but that was the first thing that came to mind.
I'm also really curious to see some of the characters come back and start doing other things, because, like, we haven't seen Molotov yet. We haven't gotten our Order of the Triad episode that we're probably going to get. I mean, we kind of did, but that was...
Yeah, okay, actually, you know what? Here's what I'm going to jump to.
Oh, no.
I don't think this would happen, but instead of having a death, what if 21 came back to life?
That would change the show so much.
Like, what if he went off and joined the Peril Partnership and faked his death?
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but...
Again,
Yeah.
this is all just stretching legs and speculating.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Joe was like, hey, speculate, so now I'm speculating.
That is true. I did tell you to speculate wildly.
Wild speculation time.
But I'm just... It's so neat, like, how 24's death didn't seem like it was, like, he's a henchman, he died, but that changed the show a lot.
Completely.
Yeah. And, as I said, this is a show that is not afraid to burn down its world if it's going to make a good episode, and it's not like... a lot of other shows that will burn stuff down and it's like, oh no, just kidding. Like the Principal Targaryen episode of The Simpsons.
Oh, with Armin Tanzarian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that episode also is often looked at as one of the worst, at least good era Simpsons episodes, and...
But the show never does stuff like that, where it's just like, oh, here's a big thing about something, and it's not actually going to leave a lasting impact. Everything leaves a lasting impact for a show that is a serialized thing, and that is such a strange and wonderful thing.
Yeah, every episode matters now. I mean, when the show started out, it was much more... There was a larger arc for the season.
Yeah.
But it was more, to use the phrase they would use for like Buffy and things like that, monster of the week.
Yeah.
But now it is just serialized. Everything ties in together for the season arc, and I love that. I like seeing more shows doing that. I think it was really great that South Park recently started doing that in the past few seasons. I don't know how long they'll stick with it because that does mess with some of their show. You know, Trump getting elected ruined their whole plan for the season.
Yeah.
Which, you know, was thankfully the worst thing to happen from that election. Oh, freedoms, weren't they nice?
They were. But back to Venture Brothers.
Yes. Da, 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 da. You know, we never do anything after the da.
I know. Well, we did that. We did once.
No, I think you should put that there.
Yeah.
You know, like you start getting away. You know, we never do anything after that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I like that as an end.